look for it.
So one of the essays that you guys are going to have to do is something that's called a causality essay. And a causality is just a fancy way in English to say cause and effect. So in this essay, it's going to feel like an informative paper because you're going to be informing someone about something that happened, but you're also going to be explaining the things that led up to it and made it happen, and you're going to be explaining the results of whatever happened. So your causality essay is going to go along with either Journal 4 or Journal 5, depending on how I assigned them. So let's talk about this. Your basics. So some of this I just already talked about, but even though this is going to feel informative, that connection between the causes of the issue and what happened as a result of it, that's what changes it from an informative paper to a causality paper. And making that link super obvious is really important to your reader. So you want to actually use the word causes and effects throughout this paper. It will make it a lot easier for your reader. Okay, so as far as topics go, this is usually the thing that trips people up with this paper, because people usually immediately think war or medicine. Some people were mad at some people, so they went to war, and then after the war, X, Y, and Z happened. You don't have to necessarily think that. Other people like to pick topics in medicine. So, for example, your event or the topic itself would be smoking. The issues that led up to it could be, I wanted to look cool when I was younger, I was stressed, I watched my parents do it. So the effects of smoking can be, cancer, death, yellow fingernails, bad breath, more cavities because there's less blood flow to the mouth, stuff like that. But you don't have to do that. Absolutely any topic that you pick can have a cause and effect if you look closely enough. But it's usually the picking topics that's going to take a little brain work on this one. Which is why in the journal I had you think of a personal thing, because sometimes if you think personal, it's a little bit easier to apply that kind of same frame of thinking to a topic. An outline is really, this kind of visual outline is really going to be the thing that's probably going to be the most helpful for this kind of essay. So your event, it doesn't necessarily mean that your event is something that actually took place or happened, like 9/11. Your event can be smoking. That's just, if you don't like the word event, think of the word topic. So maybe you pick gingivitis because you want to do something tooth related, but you don't have to. So you would think you would make a list of all of the things that caused that issue, event, topic, whatever, and the effects that it can have. Now, even though this picture has the same number of causes as it does effects, your paper does not. So, there could be some things that just had one cause. An aneurysm has one cause. A blood clot breaks off and zips to your brain and stops the blood flow from head into your brain. It's the only cause of an aneurysm. So I might only have one cause, but the effects there can be plenty of effects. Death, paralysis, stroke, stuff like that. So you don't have to have the same number of causes and the same number of effects. As long as you have both of those things represented, then you're fine. Another thing that students trip up on a little bit is they think that each cause has to have a particular effect, and that's not true. Your causes and your effects don't necessarily need to be linked. So if you look in the upper left corner, that cause with the blue arrow, notice it's pointing to the word event. It's not pointing to the word effect. So a particular cause does not have to create a particular effect. And the effects can be a mixture of good and bad. They don't all have to be negative effects. They don't all have to be good effects. You can do a mix. And when you're thinking of effects, think of effects on a person, a family, society. So if we think of 9/11, 9/11 had so many potential causes, and it's had a ton of effects, from national security to terrorism to war to racial profiling. So because there's so many causes and so many effects, maybe you just want to pick a couple to a tree, as we say around here, so that your paper's not too huge, and that's totally okay. As far as outlining, this is probably, if you've never done a cause-effect paper, this is going to be probably the easiest way for you to outline this paper. So let's say we're going to brainstorm first, then we're going to outline. So my topic is, I'm just thinking of anything off the top of my head. Okay, so my topic is the creation of binder clips, because I'm looking at them on my desk right now. So, causes. Paper clips not big enough. I have no idea if that's true or not. Rubber bands break. Binder clips more durable. So what effects have binder clips have? They are another office product option. I have no idea. Can you tell I'm totally making this stuff up off the top of my head? They come in different sizes. They are more secure. I'm going to spell this right, and then I'm going to zoom this in for you, just in case you can't see this very well. They're more secure than paper clips, and they've created competition in the market. So, you know, now rubber bands and paper clips have something to fight against. So if we were going to organize this, so this is my brainstorming. So now if I want to organize this, what I would want to do is I would want to make my first paragraph my introduction, as we are always going to do, as we talked about with our other paper. And then the last sentence of this is going to be our thesis statement. So make sure you look back in your notes about how to create a cause-effect thesis statement. So my second paragraph, this is going to be what we always call a background paragraph to catch people up to speed. In this background paragraph, I know it says paraph. Yeah, it's bothering me. Okay. In this background paragraph, this is where you're actually going to explain, define, I wish I could type today, or describe the event or the topic. So, how in the world do I do that with binder clips? Well, maybe I'm going to say when they were invented, who invented them. I'm going to describe what they look like for someone who maybe doesn't know that the binder clip is the black thing that has those metal handles that flip up and you squeeze the metal handles together and it opens like a claw. Someone might not know that. You can when it was invented, who was invented, what they look like, and maybe what they're used for. Notice in here I didn't say why they were invented, because that's going to be where our causes come in. So now we're going to do causes. Each of your causes should probably be its own paragraph, especially depending on how much you have to say about it. But because each cause is different, they should be their own paragraph. So, paperclip's not big enough. And this is where your brainstorming can come in handy, because if you notice, I just copied and pasted. So we talked about the causes. And these numbers that I have next to them is the paragraph number. So for my 5-paragraph essay, people, I'm already at paragraph 5 and I'm not close to done yet. So now we want to talk about effects. And I created 3 causes and 4 effects. So this is just how I'm going to organize this. And I'm just going to label the paragraph numbers for myself to help keep myself on track. Now, this is an outline. An outline is just supposed to help keep you on track. It's totally okay if this changes as you're writing. If you add things, if you remove things, if you decide you didn't really like that, it's fine. So I've said all the effects that I wanted, and the very last paragraph I'm going to do is the conclusion as we have discussed. So I'm going to try and zoom this out just a little bit so you can still see it. If my computer decides it wants to cooperate. So up here was where we did just some brainstorming about binder clips and how they were created. So then if we take this brainstorming and we scroll down a little bit, I took that brainstorming and I turned it into an outline that just helps us out a little bit. So the background paragraph is going to be informative, and even though these causes and these effects are informative, the fact that you're going to be making the link between these things is what changes it into a causality paper and makes it really important. So this is what I was talking about in the bullet point in the PowerPoint. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. So this is what I just did in that Microsoft Word document for you. Okay, so we talked about this slide quite a lot, so I don't really think I need to spend much more time on this slide because I incorporated it into the other slides for you. Anytime you can explain how and why in a paper, it's really going to make it a lot stronger. So writing at the college level is not necessarily just listing the information, but also explaining its connection to other things. So think about the little kid at the grocery store who is driving their mother nuts, and every time the mom says something, they're pulling on their shirt going, why, 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 why? That's what your reader is thinking. So instead of punching the little kid, if you give them all the information, then they don't have a chance to ask why, and your ears are safe. So here's your essay requirements for this one. I'm looking for 3 full pages. If it is 2 pages and only goes to the top of page 3, that is not 3 full pages. This has to be typed in Microsoft Word, double-spaced. You do not have to look anything up for this. It cannot be a personal topic, but if it's something you know a lot about, you don't have to do research. You are not allowed to use first or second person, so it's third person only. The fonts, 12-point, 1-inch margins. The TNR there stands for Times New Roman. And you have already seen what MLA format means, so you're just going to format it like you did the other essays. So here's why I'm having you do this. It really can be helpful in school and real life. We talked about in college success, looking at potential situations and which ones to choose and blah, 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 blah. So life-wise, it can help. However, it can be really, really, really helpful with patients, especially helping to curb their current behaviors, because maybe you're going to tell them effects that they don't necessarily know exist. Or if you're able to talk to the patient and find out what caused them to start a certain habit, you'll be able to you'll be able to ask them better questions and give them better tips in order to stop the habit if that's what they want to do. So for instance, if someone smokes because they're stressed, so you can ask them, well, what about if we tried something and just instead of 1 cigarette a day, you punched a punching bag, and see if that works. So with a patient, when you can really get to know them and you can understand what has caused a certain behavior, you can help your treatment of them. So think about a little kid, maybe who's acting out and breaking stuff and blah, 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 blah. Instead of just punishing them, if you find out why they're doing it, it could be a reason you didn't even think of, and then you can actually help them more. So that's a main reason you're doing this. Usually a causality paper, you might turn it into a pamphlet working in medicine, or it might be something where it just happens verbally, but you at least need the skills to be able to link those causes and those effects together. So it sounds more like you're working with the patient instead of just lecturing them. And guess what? That's the end. Aren't you excited? If you have any questions, if you need any help with this, of course, please don't hesitate to ask. With this, more than any of the other paper, picking a topic is going to be the thing that probably takes you the most time. So make sure you give yourself enough time to work on this stuff. Okay, bye.